So we have somewhere where we can start working with the profile on our Firebase setup right here. And right now we have just hard-coded some values. We want to kind of start populating these values with actual values from Firebase and authentication setup. So the first thing I want to kind of grab is the actual email right here. I want to get that from Firebase, and then I want to kind of show it here instead of the email here property, right? I also want to do another thing before we actually do that. I want to add some information to the user that we have in our TypeScript file. So we have a username. We want to also have now a first name, a last name, and a middle name. And of course, we want to add all of that into our file right here. So I'll jump into the user TS file. I'll just get rid of this guy and make a username here instead. I'll just make it into a string. I'll get rid of this guy for now, and I'll make a first name, and that'll be a string as well. I'll get rid of the next line, etc., and I'll just add a last name and a middle name right here as well. Middle name, oh my god, thanks for the help, but I really didn't need it. There we go, and then a last name. So there we go. Now we kind of set up our actual object to what we expect to get from Firebase setup when we're done right here. Now this is just prepping for actually getting the real data and for actually storing the real data for Firebase. But this is a good start. Next thing we need to do is kind of, when I jump into our profile component right here, I'm already using the auth service right here. That's where we need to kind of get the user, right? But right now we don't have an access point to get the user from the auth service. What I want to do is kind of, let me just try and build that in here first of all. So I want to kind of have a user available right here of the type user. Now the user type is of course the one I just built, this guy. And then I kind of want to be able to grab this from the Firebase auth service and just start populating this user with information. So when I'm done, I'll have an actual user available that I can then show up here with the different types. So I'm going to end up having, like here, it's going to say user, user.username, like this, and user.email. That's kind of what I want to end up in here instead. Now right now this is going to fail because I don't have a user available. So I'm going to get a null pointer exception because this is actually a null reference right now. So let's just, for the fun of it, go in here when we do the init and just create a fake user, just to kind of show you guys that this is working. So I'll just say this user equals, and I'll just make a new user right here and just add username, let's just call this guy Lars, and I'll add an email, and let's just call this hi@hi.dk, and I'll just make one more thing. Notice right here it complains that it's missing one more thing. Oh, here we're missing a white space. It's okay, but it complains right here that it says you cannot call yourself a user without a username and an email and a UID. So I'll just add a UID right here, unique identifier, and I'll just say 123. So this is actually what I need. I need to somehow grab this data from Firebase, right? So we're going to build that. Now that means that this won't fail anymore, and I'll actually get a Lars and a hi@hi.dk. So that's cool. Next step, we kind of need to go and grab this from Firebase right now, but we can't because the auth service doesn't provide a function for actually grabbing it from Firebase. So let's just go into auth service and say is authenticated. That's the only thing we have to do with authentication information right here. But notice is authenticated is actually returning a Boolean value. Now we don't need a Boolean value. We actually want the actual user back, right? So we're going to have to change the authentication service. Now that is a bigger thing to do. So we'll have to do that in the next lesson where we're going to start making a new function. We can make the function where we just call get user. That's kind of the function we want to build. So we'll go and build that in the next lesson. See you next time. Have fun.